The synergic theory states that there is a basic organization of space. This basic organization would be like a matrix, a grid, a lattice-like structure whose fundamental state is total coherence and symmetry. Now, as you're evolving, what happens is that slit opens up more and more and more. So you see more and more of that reality, and we assume that we see different realities is that we've always tried to understand, for example, psychic phenomena. Like, how could I get information out of your head in my head as some sort of signal going back and forth? But if we reorganized, if we live in a universe that is organized holographically, you no longer have to tackle it that way. It could be that I have the entire universe and every neuron, every cell, every atom, every electron in my head. And you do also at the physical level. We are separate, separate, and there's this much distance between us. On the very highest level, which is the high spiritual level, we are basically overlapping completely. Everybody is overlapping everybody else. In other words, everything and everyone is everywhere. In other words, we've become omnipresent. This is a state of highly spiritual perfected beings or God's unit. What you just heard is not just a collection of ideas. It is a glimpse into the visions of three minds who dared to look beyond the veil of ordinary reality. Itzhak Bentov, Michael Talbot, and Jacobo Grinberg were not merely researchers. They were visionaries. They proposed something revolutionary. That reality itself is a hologram. That consciousness is the true engine of the universe, and that what we call paranormal may in fact be the natural state of a cosmos we have yet to fully understand. But there is something even more unsettling. All three shared a common destiny. They vanished under mysterious circumstances as if their mission in this reality had been completed. Coincidence? Or as if the very system they were trying to decode had intervened to silence them. Get ready, because what you are about to see is not just information. It is an invitation to expand your awareness, to question everything you thought you knew, and to explore the true potential of your own being. Now, let me take you into their fascinating stories and theories. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon on May 25, 1979. American Airlines Flight 191 was set to depart from Chicago, bound for Los Angeles, but it never reached its destination. Just 31 seconds after takeoff, the unthinkable happened. It was the largest aviation disaster in the history of the United States. Along with 272 other people, this tragedy claimed the life of one of the greatest scientists in the field of human consciousness. Itzhak Bentov. Bentov was an innovator in the research of human consciousness and the intersection between science and spirituality. Without formal academic training, his innate curiosity led him to develop numerous revolutionary inventions such as the steerable cardiac catheter and to found a multi-million-dollar biomed company that still exists today. Bentov's studies and experiments on human potential and the nature of reality were so innovative and revealing that they caught the attention of the CIA. During the 1970s and 1980s, at the height of the Cold War, the CIA led projects to explore the limits of the human mind. They sought to harness abilities such as remote viewing and telekinesis. The goal was to gain an advantage in espionage and psychological warfare against the USSR. In this context, Bentov became crucial. His theories on the electromagnetic energy of the human body, its relation to other dimensions of reality, and the possibility of transcending space-time captured the attention of CIA researchers who were looking for ways to enhance the hidden abilities of the mind. How much did Bentov's ideas really influence these experiments? What secrets could he have revealed about consciousness to attract the interest of such a powerful agency? Although these documents were classified at the time, Bentov wanted to share much of his knowledge with humanity in his books and lectures. It was precisely while he was heading to give one of his lectures in California that the tragic accident occurred, ending his physical presence among us. Could it be that he knew too much, and it was deemed undesirable for his knowledge to be accessible? Or was it simply a cruel twist of fate? In the next few minutes, we will delve into the enigmatic ideas of Itzhak Bentov about reality and consciousness. His view of reality as a structure formed by vibration and sound will lead us to question what we think we know. Furthermore, we will address how these ideas intertwine with the awakening of Kundalini energy and his mysterious understanding of time as something that can be altered. You will also learn about a practice that Bentov proposes for experiencing this yourself. Finally, we will discover his vision of the very functioning of the universe. Known to his friends as Ben, he illustrated his books with his own cartoon-style drawings, some of which we will see to better understand his revealing ideas. Through his research and the revelations he obtained in altered states of consciousness, Bentov developed a unique model that fused his scientific knowledge with mystical intuition. For him, reality was holographic, perceiving it as vibrational by nature. The key concept that Itzhak Bentov explores is that everything we perceive as physical reality has its origin in sound and vibration phenomena that are deeply connected to the nature of the universe. This manifests through rhythmic oscillations that, when interacting, generate vibrational patterns forming the structure of the physical world. Sound, like everything in the universe, is an oscillation, a movement that alternates between points of rest like a pendulum swinging back and forth, thus creating the vibrations we perceive as reality. Sound is not just another vibration. It is a key representation of how the oscillations of the universe interact to form the reality we know. A clear example of this interaction between vibration and matter is the experiment of cymatics, where sound frequencies generate geometric patterns in materials such as sand or water. This demonstrates how vibration organizes chaos into coherent and recognizable forms, reflecting the way reality itself is structured. This vision resonates with the biblical passage, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." John 1:1. Here the Word could be understood as the primordial vibration that gave rise to all that exists, a vibration that organizes chaos and shapes our reality. When we analyze an atom, we discover that both the electrons and the nucleus are merely electromagnetic fields in constant vibration without any real physical matter. The space between them is empty, similar to interstellar vacuum. The reason we can touch objects and not pass through them lies in the fact that the electrons in our atoms repel the electrons of whatever we touch. However, if we could accelerate our vibration sufficiently, we could easily pass through anything. It is this interaction between atoms that gives us the illusion that matter is solid. Reality presents itself as an oscillating field alternating between rest and action, which makes us perceive it only partially. Holographic universe for Itzhak Bentov. The hologram was the key to understanding reality. He often used diagrams to illustrate his concepts, likening the hologram to 3 stones thrown into a body of water. When these stones hit the water, each creates ripples that expand across the surface. The interaction of these waves forms what is known as an interference pattern. If we were to freeze the water at that moment, we would capture a chunk of ice that holds all the information about the stones and their positions. By illuminating this pattern with coherent light, such as that from a laser, we could view a 3-dimensional reconstruction of the stones in space. The essence of the hologram lies in the fact that all information is contained within this pattern. And intriguingly, each small fragment also holds the complete information. If you were to break the chunk of ice and keep only a small piece, illuminating it would still reveal the representation of all 3 stones. This method of information storage is one of the most efficient that nature has developed. When nature discovers something that works effectively, it replicates it across different levels from the microscopic to the macroscopic. This holographic concept is strikingly reflected in the human brain, which is as holographic as our universe. In the 1970s, Carl Pryrem and David Bow developed the theory that both the brain and the universe possess a holographic nature. Pryrem suggested that the brain stores memory in a distributed manner rather than in specific areas, similar to a hologram where each part contains information about the whole. This could explain why memories persist even in individuals who have had portions of their brain removed due to illness or injury. If we replace the 3 stones in the previous example with 3 people, the concept remains unchanged. Just as the stones do, humans constantly emit information through our thoughts, actions, and emotions. All these fields of information interact, creating a hologram, a pattern of interference. We can assert that human consciousness is in essence an immense hologram of information shared across humanity. Phenomena such as telepathy and intuition would then be manifestations of this deep interconnection. At our core, we are one mind, a unified consciousness. The implications of this idea are astonishing, as everything we do and think not only affects us, but also influences everyone else. This can be clearly observed in phenomena like sympathetic resonance. A classic example involves two identically tuned violins. If a string is played on one, the corresponding string on the other will vibrate even though it has not been touched. This occurs because both are in tune, allowing energy to transfer easily between them due to their matching frequencies. A similar effect can be seen with pendulum clocks. When several clocks with pendulums of the same size are placed on a wall, although they may initially swing out of sync, over time, they will all start to tick in harmony. A minimal amount of energy transmitted through the wall causes the pendulums to synchronize, demonstrating how resonant systems tend to align. This principle applies to humans as well. The vibrations, thoughts, and emotions of one person can influence those around them, altering their vibrational state. Depending on our environment or the people we interact with, our vibrations can be affected. Certain individuals, like spiritual teachers, possess a high level of consciousness or vibrational frequency. Their mere presence can elevate the vibration of those around them. A clear example is Ramana Maharshi, an Indian sage whose profound peace and serenity impacted many, causing significant changes in their states of consciousness, just by being near him. As we can see, the principle of resonance affects not only the physical environment but also the human body and its subtle energies. Much like violins or pendulum clocks, our bodies are also a set of resonant elements. This is directly related to Itzhak Bentov's studies on Kundalini energy, a force that, as it rises through the body, harmonizes our internal frequencies, creating a similar state of resonance. Kundalini energy. Itzhak Bentov researched how the human nervous system responsible for perceiving physical reality is linked to the evolution of consciousness. One of the central themes of his study was Kundalini energy, a force described in Eastern traditions that rises through the spine, activating energy centers and expanding perception. Bentov explained that as this energy ascends, it harmonizes the body's frequencies into a state of resonance. Kundalini energy, when rising, unlocks the chakras and releases tensions, allowing for elevated perception. However, this process can be uncomfortable if blockages are encountered as the energy clears them forcefully. Bentov viewed the body as a set of oscillators vibrating at a frequency close to 7 Hz. Although they are not typically synchronized, when the heart, brain, and other structures operate in harmony at 7 cycles per second or 7 Hz, they enter a state of resonance. This not only harmonizes the body's frequencies, but also synchronizes them with the vibration of the earth, which shares the same frequency, known as the Schumann resonance of approximately 7.83 Hz. This connection establishes a deep link between our physiology and the heartbeat of the planet. In one of his experiments, Bentov measured the micro-vibrations of a person connected to a ballistic graph during deep meditation, observing how the breathing almost stopped and the heart pattern took on a sinusoidal waveform, which he called the Kundalini syndrome. This state of resonance harmonizes and unifies the vibrations of the entire body and synchronizes the brain hemispheres. When the whole body resonates in unison, the piezoelectric properties in the brain are activated and the pineal gland is stimulated, connecting us with higher planes of reality. This explanation, although simplified, offers a glimpse into the depth of Ben's research, which presents numerous parallels with current studies by Joe Dispenza. Expansion of time. Like a pendulum, we constantly oscillate between movement and rest, which according to Bentov occurs approximately 14 times per second, or in other words at 7 Hz. In movement resides our physical and perceivable reality, while in moments of rest is where the absolute exists. This process happens so quickly that we are not aware of when it occurs. We perceive ourselves only in this material reality without being conscious of the moments we inhabit in rest. However, if we manage to position our consciousness in these moments of rest and expand them, we can truly experience them, transcending the boundaries of the material world and expanding subjective time. This can be accomplished through techniques such as meditation. This is precisely what Bentov managed to do: explore those other realities, bring back the information obtained in those states and share it. When a person becomes aware of those moments when the pendulum stops, when all movement ceases, consciousness expands and the perception of time changes. Those who have gone through these experiences often describe that time seems to stop or at least slow down. To explain this graphically, Bentov designed a diagram to help us understand it. In this diagram, we have objective time and space representing the linear flow of time from the past to the future, passing through the eternal now. This objective time is what we measure with our clocks and is roughly the same for everyone. However, in addition to these two vectors of objective time and space, there are two other vectors that represent subjective time and space. It is the time and space perceived and experienced by our consciousness. Normally both overlap, and we do not perceive any difference between them. But in altered states of consciousness, such as deep sleep, meditation, out-of-body experiences, or under the influence of psychoactive substances, a deviation occurs between them. The angle between the two times, subjective and objective, varies, and the inclination determines the depth of that altered state of consciousness and the variation between the two times. If we project 1 second in this diagram while we are in an altered state of consciousness, we will see that one objective second can transform into 2 subjective seconds, meaning our perception of time has doubled. Now, if the inclination of subjective time continues to increase until it becomes almost parallel to objective space, we reach a situation where subjective time completely overlaps with objective space. At this point, time and space as we know them would no longer exist because we would be present everywhere at the same time. In this case, your subjective time would collide with objective space and become infinite. This state is called samadhi, the maximum expansion of consciousness, where it extends throughout the universe, thus accessing the source of the hologram. Bentov developed a truly peculiar and fun technique to observe our ability to expand subjective time. I will now describe it as it appears in his book. First, place a clock in front of you. Relax and observe the clock while following the second hand. Absorb and remember the rhythm with which it moves, doing so effortlessly. Then close your eyes and visualize yourself participating in your favorite activity. This visualization must be perfect. If you imagine lying on a beach, you must feel that you are really there. Don't just think you're on the beach. Feel the warmth of the sun and the texture of the sand. The results are better if you choose a relaxing activity instead of a hectic one. When you feel you have stabilized this visualization, slowly open your eyes a little. Don't focus on the clock. Just let your gaze settle on the face as if you were an uninterested observer of the entire situation. If you followed the instructions correctly, you may notice that the second hand stops at some moments, slows down, and stays in place. If you are very successful, you could stop the hand for a considerable time. For some people, this turns out to be a surprising experience. At the moment they feel that surprise, the hand accelerates and resumes its normal speed. To achieve results, one must really maintain their attention and mental presence in visualizing the experience while at the same time observing the clock dispassionately. It would be somewhat similar to when you are reading a book and your mind has wandered off to some issue, but you continue reading a kind of division in consciousness. I would like to read in the comments if you have tried the practice and if you have managed to stop or slow down time. Why did the clock slow down or stop? Bentov proposes that the observing mind responsible for interpreting the information received by the brain was absent. While the sensory organs processed the information, the observer had disconnected, leaving the body without someone to interpret what the eyes were seeing. It is possible that during that time the observer was elsewhere, like on a distant beach, and while focusing on what was happening, there could not process the information from the clock. When consciousness returned to the body, the clock would return to functioning normally. The model of the universe. According to Bentov, Itzhak Bentov's cosmic egg theory is a fascinating topic that could well be the focus of an entire video. However, I will summarize it briefly here to provide an overview of his proposal. Bentov describes the origin of the universe as a compressed sphere of matter and radiation within protospace. This egg eventually exploded in a single direction, leading to the formation of stars and galaxies in a toroidal shape. As the universe expands, its rhythm slows down and matter ultimately returns to its point of origin in a constant cosmic cycle. Bentov also introduces the concepts of black holes and white holes. In this process, black holes attract matter to themselves, while white holes could release that matter at the beginning of a new creation cycle. Thus, our universe would have emerged from a white hole, representing the opposite side of a black hole, giving rise to a continuous cycle of death and rebirth. The matter that composes it comes from that which fell into a black hole in the previous universe. As matter goes through the processes of death and birth, it returns completely homogenized and re-energized, ready to begin a new journey through the evolutionary cycle. Consciousness would also follow this cycle of expansion and contraction, evolving with the universe and returning to the original source. This cyclical process reflects the rhythmic and eternal nature of the cosmos, where everything from matter to consciousness expands, evolves, and returns in harmony. For Bentov, reality is nothing but consciousness itself unfolding to know itself. The physical universe is simply a manifestation of that consciousness at different levels of evolution. And what we perceive of reality depends on our own level of conscious development. As you know, you use a body like a car for 80,000 miles, 100,000 miles, and you chunk it, and that's it. You get another one. So it's the driver is the soul who uses a body for a while, and then he runs it into the ground and he gets another one sooner or later. That is, the soul is the repository of information that we gather during a lifetime. I have tried to summarize and simplify many of the exciting concepts and theories of Itzhak Bentov give you a global view. If you would like me to delve deeper into any of these topics in a future video, let me know in the comments.